Reverse engineering is the most important skill in improving at League of Legends. Allow me to explain. Imagine you're a college student near the end of a semester. You took multiple classes, but one was particularly difficult. You've been studying really hard for the final exam, and you think there's a chance you'll be able to ever so barely pass the class. It's not your proudest moment, but at least you know you won't have to take the class ever again, as long as you manage to pull it off. However, a day or two before the exam, someone informs you that your professor has an unusual grading curve. You go to check your syllabus, and you see that, to your dismay, it is true. Instead of needing a 60 to get a D in the class, your professor made it require a 67. You're now forced to give up on trying to pass the class because you know it has gone from improbable to outright impossible. It doesn't matter what score you get on the test, because it won't impact your grade enough to get the 67 that you need. This story is real. This happened to my roommate a couple years ago, and I was the one that told him after noticing the curve on the syllabus. Many people, especially when they're in an emotional state, would be mad at the professor. It's completely understandable, and they're justified in being upset. However, what's important to recognize is that this wouldn't have happened if they did what they were supposed to from the beginning. They had multiple ways to prevent this. They could have thoroughly read the syllabus, studied more earlier on in the semester so they did better on the tests at the beginning of the class, or they could have done a better job on their assignments so they weren't getting penalties for doing parts incorrectly, along with skipping some more difficult problems entirely. I brought up that short anecdote because reverse engineering works the same way in League. For some players, it comes naturally. They probably do it without even realizing it, but for the people that it doesn't come naturally to, hopefully the real life analogy helps a little bit. Due to the snowballing nature of League, it's important to go back as far as you can when practicing reverse engineering. A very common mistake that I see is someone asking how they should have positioned on the map or adapted to their teammates when they're getting caught out 30 minutes into the game. The problem with this is that they're ignoring the factors that cause them to be in that difficult position to begin with. The first question should be, why does my team not have a big lead by late game? To clarify, this is not an opportunity to immediately blame your teammates. But Aberrant, OP.GG says team disparity. Cool. Don't care. Once you've determined your answer to the first question, then ask why again. Keep doing this, continuing this process, until you come to a solution, or at least a different decision, that would have made a significant positive impact on the game. Now let's look at a real example. This game is in gold and it's from the top laner's perspective. Volibear and Aatrox collapse on the Alawi to get her flash. However, they end up losing the fight overall for the Herald. I'm going to allow it to play out, and then I'll go over how to reverse engineer it. One way to assess this would be seeing that Lux landed the Q, and then you could determine that Aatrox shouldn't have walked back in once he saw everybody show at the Herald. But you want to go deeper than that, because that's not a significant improvement like I was talking about earlier. Let's go a little bit further back. Before they started fighting for Herald, Aatrox was pushing the wave, Ezreal and the Lux showed mid lane, so he should know that they're able to rotate. With this information, he could ping the Volibear, tell him it's not a good idea to go for the Herald, and instead he could push out top lane and recall because he has enough gold to finish his item. If he doesn't want to recall, he could at least look to hover mid lane or do anything but going near the Herald that he knows he can't win the fight. His Irelia and Lulu were still coming out of base, so they're going to be outnumbered regardless. The next example is from one of my own games where I'm playing jungle. I end up getting caught out because I'm quite out of position relative to where my teammates are. So that could be an assessment that I shouldn't have been this far up, and that would be accurate. But, as I said before, you want to figure out something deeper. Is there ways that I could have been in a better position beyond just this? Why is my team already behind? Then if we go back and we look at, well, what about my other death? What happened there? All the way back. And here, I had a play where I greeted for Drake again. I didn't need to go here. Thresh has a way to cancel my E. Even if he doesn't land it, I'm not going to be getting a kill on Talon. I'm not getting this Drake. It's a really bad play to go for. Causes me to lose my passive. My teammate tries to TP in to save me. It's all around a mess. So if you're ever in this kind of situation where you're looking at somewhat deep into the game and you're like, well, what could I have done? Try to go a little bit further like this. Figure out, oh, maybe there was something more. And there's probably more that I could have done even before this death. All kinds of things that you can keep going further into the VOD. The only reason I'm not is because it'd be a really long video. But you just want to continue to do that process over and over until you get to the really important details. Remember, this is a skill like any other that you need to build up over time. It doesn't need to be perfect from the beginning, but as long as you're practicing, you'll get better at it. And if you're still having trouble or you feel stuck while trying to reverse engineer, get somebody else to look at the VOD. A fresh perspective can always help.